what is happiness? Like, what does it really mean to be
Happiness
happy?
is a wolf gun in your head. Happiness was
Well, I
the
think in
Beatles
the-
background.
Is it a Beatles song?
Yeah.
Oh, I think the world that we're in,
But we won't be a cover band. That's one thing we won't be doing.
I can't sing, so. But I think the world we're in, I think a lot of things, consumerism and like a lot of the apps and the programs and the things that are being sold out there sell happiness. And I question, like, what does that even mean? Like, does happiness really come from external? Is it a contributor? Does it contribute to finding your way to happiness? Is happiness even a thing? Like, is that even the word, or is it an illusion that people chase?
It's funny. I think a lot of those apps and programs that you find are marketed towards making your life easier. But what they do is they make it easier to put your attention in a million different places. You know, so it's an easier way to distract yourself from actually finding your inner happiness, because inner happiness, I think, is the only place you can find it. I think you can find convenience outside, which can maybe contribute to finding space to go within and find happiness, but I don't think the happiness will come from the inside.
And I almost feel that happiness isn't something that's attainable for a long period of time because life happens.
It's a state of being.
Like, I wonder
It's a
if it
state
comes
of
in and
being
out.
present.
Right. I think you can, I think it's part of like satisfaction. You know, if you're satisfied with, let's say, a particular thing in your life or a project or something like that, you can gain happiness. Might be the outcome of being satisfied. You know, as opposed to, like you say, a constant state of happiness.
It's funny because people think that enlightenment is this state of happiness. Like, if I can just become enlightened, I'll be happy all the time. And this enlightenment has nothing to do with being happy. You know, it's
Right. I think
about
that
being present.
happy is a short term as opposed to a lot of people think happiness is a long term. I think happiness is a short term symptom of long term contentment,
And
satisfaction.
maybe that's why people struggle with it, because they get glimmers of it, but it doesn't hold or stick, so they internalize it as doing something wrong or I messed up, and so they then go externally to search for more to fix and save and change and make better, when in actuality,
I think that
being
it's,
in the present.
yeah, but I think that, again, like you said, marketing is all about showing people why you're not happy so that you can have this to be happy. You know, a lot of marketing out there is like, you know, you see
Emotion.
the people with how many infomercials, it's like trying to put away a box of cereal and the cereal's blowing up and going everywhere. And it's like, but if you had this container, look how easy it is. You just pour it out. And
You'd be happy.
exactly.
I'm happy.
And it's so, I think we're constantly being told by marketing and media that you're not happy.
Yeah.
So people just kind of,
Constantly are chasing that next best thing.
they
best
kind of,
thing.
and they kind of create this sense of not being happy when outside circumstances don't really have to relate to the emotions. You know, you can be really poor and happy. You know, you can be
Rich and happy.
rich and unhappy too.
So which is better?
It doesn't,
Perspective.
Yeah.
Really.
Right.
absolutely.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's all individual. There's no set, goalpost there.
And the thing is, happiness, if you really want to try to be happy or content or joyful for a prolonged period of time, you have to be able to enjoy the journey,
Yeah.
because the happiness doesn't come from the destination.
But first, you even have to understand what that means to enjoy the journey. That the journey is going to be up and down. There's going to be challenges and difficulties, but you can still enjoy that part of it, right? I was talking to a friend where we were talking about how the more we want, the more things shift and change, and we were talking about living consciously and how we're aware of so much and we can see so much, so we're always thinking, or just kind of like always just this awareness. And I made a comment like, sometimes ignorance is bliss, meaning people who are in that like sleeper world or living unconsciously. And he looked at me and he was like, is it really though? He goes, think back to when you were living unconsciously. He goes, were you happy? And I was like, no, not at all. That was the worst time of my life. He goes, so take that back. But it's true. We sometimes forget, like,
But
yes,
the thing is, being conscious doesn't mean happiness. But what it does mean is
awareness.
awareness, so that you can redirect your life and change the way you're doing things so that you can find happiness. So
And
I think-
everybody's degree of happiness is different, right? Everybody's
Exactly.
so looking at other people and what makes them happy can also too make you chase this happiness. I mean, that's why I
and
became a
assuming
paralegal.
you're also assuming that other people are actually
Happy because it's an illusion of, kind of like the Facebook thing. You know, you see these lives that people put out there, these great like husbands and wives, these great children, these great vacations, you know, so you get this illusion that everybody's happy and you're not. So sometimes it makes it worse.
You
It's
can
the, it's the materialism, you know, the commercials, like you got to have the brand new truck or a new car and it'll make you happy because your neighbors have one and they're happy, or the bigger house. I mean, that's, you know, that's kind of where people have been for a long time.
But I think people get caught up in it and are totally not even aware of it.
well, they're chasing happiness is what they're doing.
And they're not even aware that the commercials and the consumerism and the magazines and the social media is constantly putting things out there to make them feel inept.
And I think that the problem that a lot of people have is it's really just about being present. You can't be happy if you're not present. And the times that you think back to where you're joyful are experiences where you're in the moment, enjoying being with family or friends, or, you know, enjoying the experience. It's not when you're projecting forward or looking back, you know.
So let's talk a little more about what it means to be present, because that might be something that's completely new to people. Like, what do you mean? I think I'm present, but yet their mind is on have-tos and shoulds, you know? So what does that really mean to be present?
I mean, I think of it as being in the moment and
Enjoying
Almost-
the moment.
almost thoughtless. Like you're almost going through and just experiencing without contextualizing it. You know what I mean?
Good point. Very good point. That's exactly, I think you nailed it, as opposed to relating it to something else, like, or what it should be, or what it could be. Like we're sitting here talking, it's like, oh, I wonder if the lights were different, or if we had a different, you know, curtain or a set. That's missing the point, as opposed to just sitting here enjoying the conversation, and going with that.
Yeah. Or even like the experience of the idea of being like on a vacation. Usually when people are on vacation, they're present because there's so much happening. There's beaches and there's activities and there's new things that they're trying. So it stimulates the mind to be present. I think that's why a lot of people, when they have breaks like that, they come back rested in a way, or they feel like they've had a timeout because they've had enjoyment, they've been outside with fresh air. And I think all those things are a contributing factor to happiness and being able to take in like the pleasures that are around you.
It brings to mind two quotes. One is Esther Hicks, when she talks about if it's about the destination, eventually you're going to come back home. So she's like, well, there you go. Don't bother going on the trip. You're already back. You know, but for them, it's the experience of being on the trip and being in the moment. It's not about the end
That's
result of
true.
actually just being back home doing what you're doing.
A lot of people get a lot of enjoyment and happiness from just planning the trip.
Yeah.
And they're
that's true.
actually in the process, you know, in the moment
Yeah.
of the process of planning it,
visualizing
or making
Getting
reservations,
excited.
or we're going to do this or do that.
Which is actually, so that's actually the creating it. You're actually creating that trip in that moment.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And you're living it basically in that moment.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more so than actually being on the trip.
Yeah, because things go much better when you're planning than sometimes the real
the
life
actual
event.
trip.
Right.
And I think that's probably where people get disappointed because they have these expectations that they've put on but don't factor in that there will be other people, there may be like bumps, there might be mistakes, there might be travel delays. So I think at some point you've got to keep being aware of just being in the present moment.
Yeah, and finding out where the blessings can come from that you couldn't plan for. You know, like if it rains your whole trip and you planned on being on the beach the whole time, it's like, well, okay, so maybe now you're forced to spend more time with your family, and that's a blessing, you know, or maybe you're going to meet new, depends on your family. I see Joe's face.
I see that we
Spend
both
more
chuckled.
time at the bar.
Maybe,
You
but
know.
maybe you meet someone there that can bring something. So there's, if you're in the moment, you're going to find blessings that you couldn't plan for.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the moment, when things don't go the way you want, you're going to miss out on the other opportunities.
How many times have people talked about, like, spur of the moment type things are like some of the best memories, best times you have when you didn't have any
Absolutely.
plans and you just let things kind of go, especially like on a vacation or something, and say, oh, let's try this. What do you feel like doing today? And like, oh, let's try that, and they just turn into these wonderful experiences
Yeah.
because you're actually living and planning in the moment.
Yep. We
As
talked
a-
about that, and
We
if
did.
you go back and watch one of our old episodes, Gladys
I
talks
talked about doing that with Danny.
Yep.
Right.
And we just, instead of deciding where we're going to eat before, we just go and just Yelp, or when we're hungry, we just find a place, and we've had some really great experiences.
Sure.
And that we also have to let people know that just takes practice, because it's hard to just let go sometimes and not have a plan, especially if you've been a planner, or especially
Right.
but sometimes it's that can be limiting, right? Because what happens if you're always thinking about how, when, or what if, you might not even take the action, or you might not even do anything because it's so exhausting just to get
you get
yourself
overwhelmed.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
You
It's
get
like taking-
overwhelmed because when you're thinking about it, you're thinking 12 steps ahead, and there's a reason why you can't do all 12 things at
Yeah.
once.
And expectations.
Yep.
And that's going through your mind and stuff, and you have to live up to that. I mean, how many people really enjoy, like, they used to go out for a Sunday drive, you'd say, but, sometimes just take a ride to the beach or something, or take a ride somewhere, and all of a sudden, you discover something, and it's like, just turns out to be something really neat.
Yep.
And what happens too, I find that sometimes when people actually do have an experience like that, they fall into this trap of trying to recreate that over and over again. So we have to, I think the importance is really enjoying the moment when you're upon it. Because what happens is you kind of like, sometimes or people blow through the experience, and then they realize like how much fun they had, or didn't really soak it in for the moment. So then they go back to the same place over and over again to try to recreate.
Yeah, it doesn't
But it never
captures that moment.
captures like that. So
No?
so I you know
Because the joy of it was the newness.
that in that
that's
moment.
what people don't get.
Right. And that's a perfect example of living in the moment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So many times I think back and I say like, man, had I just spent more time in that moment, or had I just enjoyed that, because you never know. Like, I've had a friend pass away last year, and had I known the last time I saw her was going to be the last time I saw her, would I have spent more time? Would I've told her everything I needed to say? Would I have hugged her more instead of being like afraid of not wanting to hurt her? Like, you
Or
just
would you
wonder.
have not enjoyed the moment as much because you would have
It's
been projecting
true,
forward to the
knowing
inevitable
that
end?
that would have been the last time, you know. So for me, it was almost like when I'm with people, spend time with them. Don't worry about I've got to get here, or I've got to do this, I got to do that. I wish I would have been more present in that moment, And again, it's a hard experience to have, to realize, know. So we don't realize things are a great moment sometimes until they're gone, right? And then we chase that, looking for that, when it can be happening in other ways, right?
I think that's
that's
it.
where people get stuck.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this, not only us, but I mean, people have been talking about this for ages. Chasing a dream that, that you could be living, as opposed to just chasing it.
I think that's, one of the things that, as we talk to people about, our experiences, that's something that we're also all going through as we're moving forward with our own futures and what we want to do and planning. And it's what I find as I'm doing this is remembering to enjoy the moment and not plan too far ahead, because when I plan too far ahead, I do shut down. That's something I experience myself, where it's like, if I sit down to write and just sit down and write, I do okay. When I sit down and write thinking I have to write chapter 2 right now, it doesn't go well.
It doesn't go right.
Because now all of a sudden it's like well, chapter 2 is only one chapter, maybe 20 chapters, and but if you're just sitting down enjoying the moment and being present and getting the inspiration, it goes so easy.
Yeah.
And
I think part of happiness is like when you have an experience that you feel really good about, being able to sit with it for a little bit, being able to take the time. I was saying to my cousin the other day, like, I have all these great things happening, but yet there are some other things that are not so great that are happening. And I find that I've got to be conscious of those good things that are happening and sit in that and really enjoy it and not blow through these successes and these, because there is always something, right, to distract, or there's always something in some way. It's almost like layers, right? It's like you've got one layer of something really awesome going on, and then there might be another layer of something that's not so great. And if I can just kind of sort out the space that I'm in and let myself be in that space, I think part of happiness is being able to sit and really appreciate and soak in those even little successes or those big successes or the experiences that people are having to bring joy, and just being aware to, like, let me just for a moment pat myself on the back.
Right, instead of jumping to the next thing.
Yeah, or let me for a moment just appreciate this and see it for what it is, rather than the society that's quick, fast, on to the next. You know?
Right.
And there's that, it's funny, one of the guest medium this week, Laura Dominic, she was saying, she's like, how many people are good at doing nothing? And like two people raised their hands. And it's funny because how often do we sit down because we want to take a break, and the whole time we're doing it, we're judging ourselves for not doing something.
Oh, totally.
Right.
And so the whole point of relaxing is just gone.
Yeah.
And
now you're more emotionally and physically, like, mentally spent, because
instead of building the energy so that you're ready to do the project, now you just make yourself more depressed, and then you go and eat something you shouldn't have eaten, and then you feel bad about that, and then you're tired, and you don't sleep good because you're thinking about what you should have done that you didn't get anything done. Instead of, if you just could have enjoyed the moment of relaxation.
Without the guilt and the
it becomes a
expectations.
cycle.
Yeah.
Again, so many people are not even aware of that, though, right? And you're right, it's a cycle of, okay, I need this break, I'm tired, or I'm going to sleep in, but now I'm going to beat myself up because I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and you just never really catch up.
Well, I think that's why some people have hobbies and stuff, because they program these little things into their lives that can bring them happiness, because it can shut out the real world for a short period of time. They can focus on something and really enjoy their energy, the nice calm, they're not stressed, and it's like an act of meditation for them.
Absolutely.
And then it's wonderful, they're happy, and because they've actually made time in their lives for it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something like, put it on your calendar, like Nathan says, all right, I'm going to do downtime right now, I'm not going to do anything. And then you're thinking, like, well, should I be doing something? I mean, you ruined it on yourself.
Yep.
But if you like to paint or something like that.
Sometimes you have to schedule it in.
No, I don't mind scheduling it in, it's fine, but then do it.
Do it,
yeah.
And then and release everything. And some people, you can trick yourself into it, like some people do. Like I said, with a hobby, they paint, or they draw, or they might exercise, or who knows, do planting or gardening or something like that. And but that's their way of them finding their happiness.
Yeah, we talk about, me and Alana joke about, there was one day when she was pregnant and we had a bunch of stuff to do in the house and do things, and we had one day where we just went and we took a nap, and we did nothing that whole day. And afterwards we kind of joked like, oh, we didn't get anything done or whatever. But now we look back and be like, that was one of the last times that we've had since Solomon's been born, 2 years later. It's like God, like in the past 27 months, we haven't had a chance to do that. So instead of feeling guilty about it, now we laugh and be like, thank God we did it then, because we might not do this for another, 16 years?
But that's my point, too. It's like you don't realize you're having a moment when you're in the moment.
Exactly.
And do we ever really know? And how do we savor that? You guys could have beat yourself up about it, but again, going back, would you have savored that more? Or,
Probably.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. And again, we
I
don't
think
want to
you
go
can practice
back,
it.
but
I think you can practice it. Once you realize that you're in that happy state or that moment, you can replicate it to a certain degree. Not exactly like going, oh, let's go down this particular road and find this particular restaurant and relive it like that. No, but it might be like, let's take another road trip and let's go right instead of left.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And experience it again, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And this is what I mean about, we have these moments all the time that we don't realize are moments until 24 months or 18 months or something after the fact, that you think about these things. And, I really, for myself, want to start making moments be moments and really appreciating them, Even, I was talking to you guys earlier about having like this emotional breakdown. But now that I'm through it, I kind of look back and I'm like, wow, that was very healing for me. You know, I didn't know what to do when I was in it. But now that I look back and I gave myself space to have that time, I look back and I say, gosh, that was really healing for me. I got a lot of clarity in that, you know. Do I want to really sit in that though and see that as a moment? So it's like, how do we grasp that? How do we?
I think you make good habits about
Yeah.
certain things that bring you satisfaction or, happiness, like some of the things we had mentioned. You know, some people just taking a bath, candlelight or,
Yeah.
aromatherapy or something like that, or listening to certain music where they can just kind of zone out. Make a habit of things like that.
What do we say to the people who struggle with time? Like, what do you say about people who would say, oh, that would be nice, but kids and family? Because you typically, you've got a full-time job, you've got a young son, you've got dogs that you take care of. Like, what do you say to somebody
That
who
burrow under the
isn't-
fences.
I
And you have to chase them
Don't
around.
get me started.
What do you say to people who have full schedules about happiness? Like, how does that?
Well, and that's the funny thing is, a lot of times we beat ourselves up instead of enjoying the moment. We beat ourselves up because we think of happiness as related to success in a certain area, and it's the emotion is completely separate. You know, some people think like, I shouldn't be relaxing, I shouldn't be enjoying this because I should be getting this done, thinking that if they get this thing done, they'll be
They'll be
happy. Not understanding that they could be happy now and then still get that thing done and still find happiness later. You know, it's not happiness isn't contingent on a goal.
So there could be a happiness on the process.
It should be. It
You
has
know,
to be.
so if you're really busy at work, maybe you could get happiness knowing that the project you're working on will help your family, or you'll get good satisfaction out of it, or
But I think that's still
expectations.
that's still putting it on a goal.
Okay.
Whereas opposed to just, you know, sometimes at my job I just get to sit and talk to people and sit back and feel like that was a really interesting
Yeah.
character I just talked to, you know, and
But you're not thinking about like everything you have to do after work or everything that you've got to do that night.
Yeah,
like
you
you
just-
allow yourself to be in that
to
space.
be present and connect with that person, you
Well,
know.
like,
and,
what about listening to music, like in the commute,
oh, absolutely.
something
Yeah.
like
I have
that?
some great memories I think back to, are just me driving down the road in the summer with the window down, singing along to a Radiohead song. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like, I mean, it's almost a nothing moment, but I just, for some reason, that's a happy memory for me. I just love that moment,
Yeah.
you know, and I can never recreate it.
I remember a moment when I was leaving my office when I was still in Warwick, and just spur of the moment, I decided I was going to drive down to Narragansett and just lay on the beach. And it was just a spur of the moment thing. And I thought in that moment, I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this because I'm really working on, at the time, I was working on like dating and a relationship. And I'm thinking, you know, if that happens, I can't just go on a whim. Like, there are going to be responsibilities and people. And I remember really going to the beach and taking it all in and just enjoying the sand, enjoying the people, enjoying the beach. And I think back at that time and it's like, wow, like that was the last time that I was like a single person without a lot of responsibility, and I was truly free. But I was aware of it going down there, and I just had a beautiful time, you know. So these little nuggets of information, I think, can give people a chance to think consciously about the time that they're having and being able to create a really great space with it.
Hi, everybody. If you like what you watched, please subscribe on YouTube and like us on Facebook. And check out our website at alwaysconsiderthesource.com.
Hey, if you want us to come out to your location and do a live setup, we'd love to do that. Continue to send in your questions, and we look forward to interacting with you.
And remember, always consider the source.